Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the August 25th Norwood Airport Commission meeting. This is a special meeting with two items on the agenda. The first one I'd like to take up is the flight level lots A, B, C hangar modification request made by flight level in regards to the new hangar they're going to construct adjacent to the Mark C. Welch Administration Building. So is there anyone from flight level here to present their request for the modification?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nick Burlingham from Flight Level Aviation.
Welcome. So we have your letter, Nick. Do you want to briefly go over the two questions you provided us?
Sure, thank you very much. And I appreciate the commission's coming together for this. Okay, so there are two items that we're interested in having some feedback from the commission on. One is the height of the structure. And the RFP, when it came out, limited the height to 28 feet. However, with changes in the runway surface associated with the technical master plan update, it's conceivable that a building taller than 28 feet could be built there. And that would be meaningful to us because we're constructing the building to accommodate solar panels, and also in designing the building, we want to have as much height as we can get in order to accommodate the load, the loads that the building's going to have to support, both in terms of the hangar door and also the solar panels on the roof. So what we'd be asking for really is sort of an advisory, sort of an opinion from the airport commission or its engineers as to what the building height we would be able to go up to would be. And then the second question has to do with the hangar door size, and it is integral to the building height for a couple of reasons. One is that the larger door requires greater steel, and so if it could be a slightly narrower door than the spec called for, the clear span opening would require less structural steel, and the savings associated with that could be applied to other parts of the building, such as the solar panels. And so we have done our analysis, and the wingspan of the aircraft that can use the airport, even with the extension by the paving of the safety areas, would still be able to be towed into and out of a hangar that had an 80-foot door rather than a 96-foot door. And also, as I understand from Bob Lawrence, who's on the call and is welcome to add, with the commission's permission, any technical information, but the hangar door will not limit the ability of Flight Level and the airport and whoever may own the building after Flight Level from using it for whatever aircraft can use the airfield.
And good afternoon, everyone. This is Bob Lawrence, and thank you for taking the time and to allow us to participate. As Nick said, we did take a very analytical evaluation and study of this, in terms of what opportunities exist for aircraft that can, safely use what profile the planes are in terms of wingspan, length, tail height, and maximum takeoff weight, and a balanced landing takeoff configuration. So our analysis shows those planes, and we even took into consideration with the proposed 600-foot extension, increasing the takeoff distance, it still doesn't change the makeup of the plane configurations that would benefit if there was a wider door. So the 80-foot by 20-foot clear tail height provides the same advantages as increasing a door, which will simply be oversized unnecessarily. And then, as Nick said, the funds could be applied towards providing solar panels on the roof, which of course would be have to go through an analysis of in accordance with the FAA's criteria, from reflectivity and so on from the tower operations. But it would be potentially used and applied for those. So it seems like a win-win situation. Thank you for that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Nick and Bob. Anyone else? Someone else?
Mr. Chairman, Peter Eichley, if I may add my 2 cents. Yeah,
Sure.
just to summarize, the reduced door size basically won't provide any kind of limitation on what the bigger door would be able to accommodate. Obviously, there will be the cost savings. And the other big consideration for us is that, the bigger door at 80% of the total building length will be a less reliable door. It'll be heavier than necessary. It will break more frequently. It will require more maintenance. So going down to the 80-foot, not to be confused with 80%, going down to the 80-foot length is really more suitable for this hangar. So those are my 2 cents.
Thank you, Mr. Eichley. If I may, the first question that was presented about the building height, in May 2019, when we put out this RFP, the primary surface of 1735 dictated the maximum height of the building to be 28 feet. So at the time that the RFP was submitted, the primary surface at that time limited the building height to be 28 feet, similar to the Mark C. Welch Administration Building. Since then, we've gone through the technical master plan, and the primary surface calculation has changed because the width of the primary surface has been narrowed. And now, according to our engineers at Du Bois and King, based on that, the maximum building height can go from 28 feet now to just a little bit over 65 feet. However, none of us want a building at 65 feet. And in particular, the tower would not want to lose the visibility that they have right now. So the primary surface reduction has driven this. And from my understanding, this will allow for installation of the solar panels and the door to operate and still meet the necessary FAA criteria, which they would have to go back and file a permit to confirm that. Is there a idea of the building height that Flight Level is looking at, Peter, Nick, or Bob, that you could relay to the commission?
So we've done iterations and trying to optimize the pitch of the roof so that it does not broadcast snow or rain onto the approach entrance area. We would want to pitch the roof east and west, if you will, so it sheds off to the north and south would be ideal. If the building height decreases with an 80-foot door, and again, keeping in consideration to the folks up in the tower and maximizing their visual scan that's available from a safety standpoint, we could probably reduce the building height to maybe 30 feet. And again, this hasn't been finalized because a lot of iterations are going on and configurations, plus the solar panels, which of course wouldn't be at the peak, they would be off to the each side. And we would have to work, as I said, in harmony with the FAA requirements to adjust the angle, which, you know, to eliminate any reflectivity up in the tower cab. So to answer your question, Mr. Ryan, in a long way, is probably 33 feet plus or minus at this point, and that's not a definitive number, but it's close to that.
So less than 35.
Probably at or less than 35, and you know, a lot more engineering analysis to be done, and you know, of course, you know, effectively and efficiently do this analysis that would help us to know the door height, because then we can optimize the design and optimize the PV arrays and such.
Thank you. Mr. Sheehan, Mr. Corcoran, any thoughts on the building height right now?
Not so much in the height. Is the frontage of the building changing at all?
No, the frontage will still be the same. You know, it'll be a bifold door. You know, staying with the 80 feet wide, 20 feet tall. It'll be.
What's the building frontage? The whole building total frontage, is that changing?
No, it's not. It's still 120 feet. Nothing is changing there, and it's still 120 by 60. So the total square footage is exactly the same.
Okay, here's my concern. I understand the technical master plan, when we passed that, it changed and reduced the width. And I consider that like an operation of law. So I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is changing the width of the door, because the RFP was clear that it should be no less than 80% of the building frontage. So if you're now taking 80 into 120, what is that? What is that a percentage? It doesn't meet the guidelines of the RFP. And therefore, it doesn't meet the guidelines of the RFP. Do we have to go back out and send, either adjust the RFP, or I don't know how we get over that. So at 80-foot door into 120 frontage puts you at 67%. And it says aircraft hangar door width shall be no less than 80% of the building frontage width unless authorized by the NAC, but it's not a small change, in my opinion. It's rather significant. So that's my concern, Mr. Chairman. I don't know how the other members feel, and maybe we can get some help with counsel on this. I'm just not comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with the height of the building because the technical master plan that was approved by the NAC and it's going through the process with MassDOT and the FAA. I think that's appropriate, but I'm not sure if this is. So that's my feelings. And perhaps John, if you want to jump in, and Mark, and then maybe council can help us with this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sheehan, thank you. So Corcoran, any thoughts on this? On basically the door width is the biggest stumbling block, it seems, right now.
I think it's the height and the width. And the reason I think that is, so the close proximity to the tower, the line of sight, we have a couple of helicopter pads down there. I want to make sure that they don't have a problem with that. So we might want to get some input from the FAA tower on that. The second thing was, I'm not 100% sure on the, the difference if we change the door width and the size. Is there any fire protection requirements that might change that might limit the type of aircraft that can go in there in the future? So I would probably recommend that we table this until we get a couple more answers, just to make sure we're doing our due diligence as a commission. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, John. Yes, Bob, Nick, or Peter, the fire suppression question that John had, anything you can add on that? Is it limit the type of aircraft that we're reducing? Is that something you know now or can provide for us?
From the CAP ramp, we constructed a 110, the hangar number 25, the furthest one all the way to the east is 110 by 60 feet. So there's only 10-foot difference between this new proposed hangar and that hangar. That hangar, the 110, has an 80-foot door. And the fire code, we worked very closely with Norwood Fire Department chief. The fire code required that we have a man door in the front, which was incorporated into the hangar door, a door on the east side and a door on the north side. And of course, the driving limitation is at any, as I recall, with 75 feet where a person could physically be standing, there has to be a method of egress within that 75 feet. So laying this out, I don't think it would change at all from a fire and code standpoint, but that's just that's from memory, which can be dangerous with me sometimes, but those are some of the details that I remember, Mr. Corcoran.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're not going to limit anything moving forward in the future. Obviously, it's not going to be larger aircraft because of where we're limited not only by airframe capability, we're also limited by runway length.
So is there, John, you were talking about taking this under advisement till the next meeting, get some answers to some questions. Do we have to go out for another RFP because we're waiving this when it was a requirement? Maybe council will be able to help us with that one, even though it says right in the RFP, unless authorized by the NAC. So it seems like we do have the flexibility to change that, but I think we need to get some more answers, and Russ can reach out to council on some of those, and at the next meeting we could have an answer then on the door width. Does that sound appropriate?
I would support that. I just want to make sure that we're doing all of our due diligence before we do something. That's all. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah, and the next meeting's September 9th, so it's not a huge wait. We're only talking 2 weeks from tomorrow. So that seems fair. Mike?
Yeah, and if we could just get a legal opinion regarding the language in it. I don't think that's Mr. Chairman. Not sure. So if we could get a legal opinion, but just going back to the introduction that Flight Level provided, just reading their words, Flight Level is committed to building at its own expense a state-of-the-art hangar conforming to the specifications outlined in the RFP. And they went on to say further, the elected the electric power panel hanger door is 20 feet tall and 100 feet wide, exceeding the 80% requirement. It will allow maximum flexibility in staging the hanger for optimum occupancy. And I don't have enough information, but it seems to me that this is a cost-cutting move, and they probably should approach this earlier during the process, not to come here after. So I know it gives us a little flexibility there, but I'm not comfortable with their second request regarding the hangar door. But I second the motion to table, and I would ask if legal, I know Karis and Meany are on, to give us a legal opinion. I'd appreciate that prior to the next meeting. So I second the motion.
So motion made and seconded. Mr. Sheehan,
Yes.
Mr. Corcoran,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So the flight level team will get some answers to some questions. Hopefully you can provide information about the fire suppression question that Mr. Corcoran had. And I would hope we would have an answer at the September meeting on September 9th. All right.
Mark, one last thing. I think that maybe just get some sort of assurance from the tower that they don't have a problem with going to 35 feet. I don't think that will be an issue, knowing where the tower is and where it is. I don't think it's going to limit much more than the 28 feet going to 35 feet. But we just really need to check in with them on that, in my opinion.
Yes, you're absolutely right, John. And I'm sure flight level hears you that they got to stay in touch with the tower and Russ in that regard.
Okay.
Is that
Mr.
right?
Chairman,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, Peter Eichler, I'm just requesting to add one more thing.
sure. Yes.
Yeah, just in response to Mr. Sheehan, I totally understand his point. But I guess I want to go on the record, saying that this isn't just a cost-cutting measure, reducing the size of the door. I think it's the best thing for the hangar and for the airport, in that the 80% number with a bifold door for a hangar that size is going to be a maintenance problem. It's going to be a reliability problem. Reducing it, like I said, isn't going to affect any, isn't going to affect the type of aircraft, the number of aircraft that can go in, but it will make the door more reliable, which serves us all in the short and long run.
Thank you,
And
Mr. Oh, go ahead.
I wish, when you put together proposals such as this, and there are things that happen as you go through the analysis. As much as you wish you had that silver ball in the beginning, there are changes that come and go. But bottom line is, if you want us to stick with what the RFP originally says, we're going to do that. But this just makes more sense, not only from the financial perspective, but from the perspective of the solar panels and the reliability component. So that's all I have to add.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Sheehan.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Just a question for either you or Russ. Was there a pre-bid RFP meeting where anyone that wanted to bid in it, if they had any questions regarding the RFP before it officially went out? So was there a pre-bid meeting on this? Russ or Mark?
Off the top of my head, I don't recall. There may well have been. Probably, if we did have that meeting, there would be a record of it. But off the top of my head, I don't recall. It's been a few years.
All right. I think the legal department will have to direct us on this one. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehan. Okay, moving on to the next piece of business on the agenda. As you all know, we signed a general release and settlement agreement with BEH, and a number of things have been done to comply with that, and we continue to do that. And one of them is Part 6, the communications protocol, where we meet for 18 months with BEH to go over operational issues and specific disagreements. And in that, it's very clear that pursuant to the protocol, the airport manager attends this meeting, a representative of the NAC attends this meeting, the selectman liaison identified in paragraph 5 of the agreement, and a representative of BEH shall meet monthly in a good faith effort to discuss operational issues and resolve specific disagreements or disputes that may arise. So, discussing with town council and the general manager, we will continue to have those meetings. The airport manager will attend. A representative of the selectmen will attend, and the representative of the NAC will attend, but I would like a vote that the representative of the NAC would be someone from the law firm Anderson and Krieger as our airport attorneys.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Sheehan. Mr. Sheehan.
Yes. Did Mina want to say something first?
Go ahead, Mike. You can weigh in and I'll.
Okay. Is the, and I'm in favor of this, is the selectman liaison, is that still Bernie Cooper or is that Tony Mizuko? Or either or?
Well, right now, it's whoever the selectmen identify.
Okay. I just want to make a comment. I saw a disturbing email. I just wanted to speak about Bernie Cooper for a minute and what I've known the type of person that Bernie Cooper to be. To me, he's the epitome of the civil service who goes above and beyond his position for the residents of this town and everybody that does business in this town. In a recent email that was sent to the town, it made a disgusting reference to a disgusting individual and associated that with Bernie. I just would be remiss if I didn't mention just Bernie is nowhere near that. He's just an outstanding individual as a person. He's an outstanding assistant town manager that served this town for so long. And to see a man of his character and his integrity attacked like that is wrong. And I hope the person that did that will realize that. And I pray that person will send him a personal apology. With that, I make the motion to appoint a representative from the NAC from the law firm identified by Mark. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehan. Well said, and a motion has been made.
Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify for the discussion, just so that everyone's clear.
Yes, please.
I spoke with BEH's counsel, Eric Loeffler, this morning to let him know that this was on the agenda today and that this was a proposal that's there. And our hope is that having the firm there along with Russ can help us streamline some of the communication on both ends. And you know, I've only had the good fortune of knowing Bernie for a year, but I would echo what Mike said from everything, my limited interaction with him. The BEH's counsel is aware of this. He's also aware that the select board is considering a similar vote to make sure that we're moving in an organized fashion at these meetings.
Thank you, Mina. So a motion has been made.
And seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Sheehan,
Yes.
Mr. Corcoran,
Yes.
and Mr. Ryan votes yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. All in favor? Mr. Sheehan,
Yes.
Mr. Corcoran?
Yeah.
Mr. Ryan votes yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.